Hey, good afternoon. This is Wilfredo Aguilar, bringing you the word of the day today. Today, we're gonna be talking about offerings. The offerings. Um, just try to understand them. What the offerings were about. I find it interesting that there was an offering done for sin, and there was an offering done for guilt. Guilt. So all those offerings would fulfill in Jesus. Um, I know Paul, and mostly Paul in Romans 12:1, he tries to tell his audience, people in Romans, says, offer your sacrifice, offer your yourselves like a living sacrifice. So he was talking about there was 5 offerings in the Old Testament. One is the let's see, I remember the burnt offering, the offering of grain. Then there's the offering of trespasses, the offering of sin, the offering of trespasses, and I'm thinking missing one. Um, there's well, there was different offerings. So the offerings of offering of burnt offering was the one that Paul was alluding to in Romans 12:1, and because he had I believe the Romans were Hebrew community. That's why he would be saying, offer yourself as a living burning offering, because for so many years I've been a believer, and I thought that wasn't kind of like mind renewal technique or something. I've never associated with the physical burnt offering that was done in the Old Testament. Old Testament and New Testament, there's always connections. There's always things that happen in the Old Testament and they happen in the New Testament. Things that happen in the New Testament, they're connected to the Old Testament. So that burnt offering, renewal of the mind, it's nothing more than the spiritual way of the burnt offering that was done physically, and it's almost like a way to give oneself. So all those 5 offerings, they were fulfilled in Jesus. Now, um, today we're going to be talking about 2 offerings. One that Abel did, and one that Cain did. We know that Abel's offering was accepted, and Cain's offering was rejected. But before we do that, let's talk about what's inside of us as believers, and I think this is where the power lies. It's not so much what you can do for God, but what can God do for you. And that means through Jesus, because of Jesus, because Jesus' flesh takes your place, and now he did all the hard work, all the keeping. He did all the keeping. Now we accept it, and through his flesh we come close to God. And now what does God can do for you? And he does it because of his love. He does it because of Jesus, not because of us, not because of our goodness or badness. He does it because we are in Jesus. We're hidden in him. We come in his name. So that that's the offering. So Romans 10:8 says, by the faith righteousness we receive and speak to us in these words of Moses. God's living message is very close to you, as close as your own heart beating in your chest, and as near as the tongue in your mouth. This is all we want to know, that the message, that the word of God is it's close to us. It's very near, in our mouth, in our tongue, and in our heart. That's what we need to know. And That's the miracle. That's the miracle power. That's God's power. Uh, if you remember, and this is why you need to connect. In the Old Testament, when Elijah said to the widow, that was picking up some sticks. There was a big famine in the land, and she's picking up some sticks. God told him, "I'm gonna send you to this widow, and she will feed you." She was picking stuff. She was getting ready to die, because there was a big famine. She had nothing. But Elijah comes in and asks her for a favor. Tells her to cook something for him, and she says, "That's the last thing I have. I'm gonna do it for me and my son, and that's it. That's gonna be our last meal." But Elijah said, "Do it for me first." So she gave it to him, and then this is what Elijah says, and this is, you want to connect that to this word on Romans 10:8. That says the word of the Lord, and then it tells him, you will be feeding for forever, until the famine lasts. And once the famine stops, the supply of God will stop. But he gives her the word of the Lord, and now this word lives in us. It's in us. So now we don't have to fetch Christ on the heavens, or go in the lowest part of the earth. We have the word, that powerful word that the prophets in the Old Testament used to make miracles with, when they spoke. That same word is in us. Now we jump into the sacrifice, what they call the sacrifice of faith. And we're going to see the story of Cain and Abel on Genesis 4. It says, "Now Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have gotten a man with the help of the Lord. And again she bore his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain was a worker of the ground. In the course of time, Cain brought to the Lord his offering, the fruit of the ground. And Abel also brought his firstborn of his flock, and their fat portions. And the Lord regarded of Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he did not regard. So Cain was very angry, and his face fell. The Lord said to Cain, Why are you angry, and why your face falling? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. It desires contrary to you, but you must rule over it. Cain spoke to Abel his brother, and they were in the field. Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, Where is Abel your brother? He said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? And the Lord said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground. So it doesn't say it on this version, but Cain brought the first fruits of his harvest, and Abel brought the first fruit of his sheep. So there's two offerings here. One, now if we connect it to the Old Testament, since it's in the Old Testament, what kind of offering is Cain's? It almost seems like it's a Pentecost offering, where you bring, it's an offering of the first fruits, and it's usually has to do with the land, and probably what Abel brought was the offering of Passover, whether Passover or the fruits, not sure. But what gets my attention is the sacrifice that Abel does. In Hebrews we read that he did it by faith. By faith. He wasn't trusting on his own works like Cain was. Cain was toiling from the ground, so he didn't have anything to trust in. he knew it was a sure thing. It was a sacrifice from his own work, from his own sweat. But Abel sacrificed by faith. It's a sacrifice of faith, meaning he had to rely on the sheep, on the best of his animals. He killed it. It's a sacrifice for him. So he's actually it's just almost like a sacrifice, an offering for sins. And Abel was actually more righteous. So this is where the people that have a wicked lifestyle, they don't see themselves as bad. They see themselves mostly as good. It's almost like God has good thing with them. But people who are like Cain, like Abel, he saw that he offered them the sheep, and this sheep was representing almost like a sacrifice, a Passover sacrifice. He ended up being Cain's killed by his brother, and so there was bloodshed by Cain. He wouldn't do his animals, but he would do his brother. So that's how wicked he was. So God wasn't pleased with that, but ultimately the need for us to do something would always be there, like to bring our sweats, to bring things that we work hard for, and because we want to give an offering to God. And Paul says the righteousness that is by faith. It's speaking. We saw it yesterday. But the righteousness of the law is by doing. So in a sense, we are involved in a system where we're trying to do for God instead of having God do for us. Because remember, Jesus already did for us our part. Now it's time for God to do his part. And that's why we rest in Jesus. And we don't want to get God to focus on ourselves, because then we're going to be working. And we want God to be working on our behalf. So watch out for the offerings. I would, even if you try to make them spiritual, even if you know about them and you try to make them spiritual, know for a fact that Jesus replaced that. He was the fulfillment of all those offerings. So now you can do the sacrifice of faith, which is tell Jesus how grateful you are. Just tell Jesus how grateful we are, how good his sacrifice was, how good he fulfilled all these things of these different types of offerings for us. And don't focus on yourself, on what you're doing for God. Focus on what God is doing for you. Switch the plane, because you'll be in trouble if you focus on yourself. Then God, it's almost like you're bypassing Jesus, and now God is dealing with you directly. So don't be a fool. Focus on Jesus. Let him be your mediator, your go-to, so that God can bless you and give you his good things, his miracles, because the miracles are already inside of us. We have the word inside of us, the same power, miracle power that was in the prophets when they say, "That says the word, the Lord." That says the word of the Lord. They had that word of the Lord. That's in us. That's why Paul says you don't have to fetch Christ. It's already inside you. It's close to you. It's already close to your heart, close to your mouth. That's a sacrifice of faith. So make sure that you don't fall into that trap of trying to do things for God. Instead, focus on what God is doing for you, and focus on the finished works of Christ. That's it for today. Have a very blessed day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.